There's a flavor to Cuba that is indisputable: the music, the people, and the old cars that have come to define what is both unique about this place, but also how it has become mired in the past.
When you look at Cuba and the United States, you're looking at countries that are more like an estranged couple, and they're finally getting back together after 50 years. So it's my job to try to rebuild that bridge and reconnect the two countries.
Chris Clunan has a master's degree in Cuban studies and now works for a cultural travel company that tries to build bridges between Americans and Cubans.
The biggest obstacle that the United States faces domestically is Congress. President Obama can only do so much. Since the embargo was officially written into law in the 90s, a lot of the restrictions have to be lifted by Congress.
In 2010, Cuba embarked on discussions to update the country's economic model, defined largely by absolute state control, to one where individuals can own businesses, buy and sell their homes, and with technology slowly beginning to open up.
Look at what Raul Castro has done since he came to power just a couple of years ago, even before Obama made the détente announcement. You look at things like Wi-Fi hotspots. They have 35 of them around Havana now. In 2015, I was here in 2012. It was a dream if you thought you were going to get a Wi-Fi hotspot in Havana.
But Cuba's president has long held the view that change will be slow. A view shared by local poetry teacher Isabel Diaz, who agreed to take a ride around Havana with me in this classic Chevy. One he says is meant more for tourists than locals.
Changing on the ground, how have things changed since the United States and Cuba began talking again in December last year?
Yes, I think there are huge expectations about this, but I'm not quite sure that everything is going to happen that fast as everybody's expecting. I think the changes will come much more slower than we expect, and maybe not in the way that some of us expect, because it's not a public debate.
Technology, for one, remains exclusive and expensive, despite slowly liberalizing the space for people to get online.
It is happening right now, but not at the speed that we need. The cost is very expensive. It's very expensive for everybody to access to internet right now. You need to have a device, a telephone or a laptop or something, and it's very expensive to buy those devices here.
Diaz says he expects the country to embrace over time a more Chinese or Vietnamese economic model, a form of state capitalism he feels is far too centralized. And with pressure building on the United States Congress to lift the embargo and the restrictions it places on foreign companies and countries doing business in Cuba, issues like U.S. control of Guantanamo Bay also loom large.
How do you have normalized relations with a country that you're forcibly occupying? So that's certainly something that's going to need to be resolved. And you also look at it from the Cuban perspective. They're very excited to have the Americans coming back, and business-wise, but there's always this shadow of colonialism that plays into the relationship.
A work in progress for a country now venturing into uncharted territory.
So, amidst the renewed global interest in Cuba, be that over US-Cuba relations that continue to be overshadowed by the embargo, or the social and economic reforms that are currently underway on the island nation, what is clear is that change is coming to Cuba. What is less clear is how quickly and how deep those changes will be. Sherwin Bryce-Pease, SABC News, Havana, Cuba.